Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
The Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's time for Star Wars. I don't have the actual thing that Patrick plays every week, so I was just using that sexy voice.
You know what that's from, right?
It sounds like Bill Murray.
It's Bill Murray. It's Saturday Night Live, and him being a lounge singer, and he's singing different songs, and like doing the thank you kind of thing, and then he sings Star Wars. It's amazing.
So I've never actually looked it up. I just that sounds like Bill Murray.
And you were right, spot on. That's Bill Murray. It's Bill Murray. So, and I'm glad we haven't gotten flagged for that. I thought we'd get flagged for the audio for SNL.
We just get flagged for showing too much Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and
Attack of the Clones.
It was Attack of the Clones, and it wasn't even Disney that got us. So
It wasn't?
It wasn't Disney. It wasn't Disney or Star Wars. It was some random person with a bunch of weird characters on YouTube that said it's mine. Sorry, Facebook. Disney got us.
Yeah.
Facebook, Disney got us.
Definitely Disney.
YouTube, someone else is claiming that they own Star Wars.
So we're gonna have to figure that out. Even though we only have 2 more movies after this.
Yeah, we'll still have more Star Wars to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
So
we got a lot of Mandalorian to cover.
Yes, we do.
Episode 4 is my least favorite episode so far.
I'll agree with you on that, and I think as we do our review, because we don't want to give away spoilers, we'll do a separate one talking about that.
Wait until the season's over.
Yeah, but we'll go through each episode. I think it's probably going to be a long recording if you're cool with it, because I think I want to go through each episode and how I feel about the overall arc and everything. Anyways.
Might break that into a couple parts.
Okay, so we're doing Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Watched it last night.
Best prequel.
Yeah.
Best
Hands
prequel. So many lightsabers, so many fights. The only
I just think of that GIF.
Yeah, the only
on Mustafar.
the Obi-Wan that they do. That's the move that they call it, where they just both happen to be doing the twirl forward back.
Which I actually found out. Okay, when we get to that, I found out why that fight went the way that it did on screen too. So.
Oh, cool. We'll talk about that. I was gonna say this movie bookends with the longest scenes or setups or whatever you have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the beginning 25 minutes of action does keep you going. I'm glad they cut out the really bad. I don't know if you've seen the deleted scenes from this. Like Anakin talks in droid at one during a deleted scene, where he's like the droid beeps and he's like, "No, I think he said up. I think he said." Like Anakin mouths, and it's so stupid.
Yeah,
it was cut out.
Because the droid can understand you.
Because the droid can understand English. He shouldn't have to mimic, similar to Han Solo and Chewie. Yeah. So they cut that out. Thankfully, love the opening of this. You've got. Yes, I know it's all CGI. It's not miniatures.
No, it started so good. Though.
The start is amazing.
I forgot that it was a while before they get to Grievous.
Yeah. There's quite a while before they get to Grievous. There's quite a while before. And that's one of my my negatives to this movie. And it's a negative, I think, to the prequels. Is each one of their villains is it's a villain of the movie. It's a villain of the week. Mm-hmm. It's not Palpatine is of course the overarching villain.
Yeah.
But we didn't get enough. In my opinion, we didn't get near enough time with Maul. We got close to enough time with Dooku.
Yeah.
But Grievous is like, oh, he's here, and you're kind of figuring out who he is, and by the time you understand who he is, he's dead. And I think that was the biggest disservice to Grievous, because I like him as a character.
Which is why I think they fleshed him out in Clone Wars, which you haven't gotten to yet. Yeah. I'm still only in the first season because I've been watching that Boy Meets World.
Okay.
But going through that, you find out a lot more about Grievous, and and Ahsoka has a lot more run-ins with him, because I think they messed that up or something, but I'm waiting to find out, because Grievous says he's never met Anakin before in the movie. He was like, I thought you would be older, somebody of your renown. Okay. He says that in episode 3. And so he's met Ahsoka for sure. I have not seen him actually meet Anakin. Okay. So I wonder if they maintain that or not.
Which could make sense if he met Ahsoka and he didn't meet Anakin, and he had met Anakin's Padawan.
Yeah.
Then maybe that makes sense, where he's envisioning an older person.
Yeah.
This, by the way, I mean, we'll get into other things as well, but the other complaint that I would have is that Obi-Wan goes from looking early to mid 30s in this movie to being Alec Guinness in 20 years.
So I looked into that too. I did a lot of Googling last night. I did a lot of random Reddit searching and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's 20 years. So at the end of episode 3, he's about 40. I think he's 38.
Okay, so...
And then he lived, and basically everybody's like, well, he lived on a desert planet as a hermit.
There's no moisturizer there.
Yeah, and Alec Guinness in episode 4, he was 62.
Okay, so that is pretty close.
And so they're like, he just got, some people just get old. Some people, then one guy had a really interesting theory, none of this is confirmed, but like, just one guy's like, thing about how Yoda had to mask himself by living next to the dark side cave. Like, what if Obi-Wan just was using the Force basically to kind of like shield the fact that he was on Tatooine, because he has a good link with Anakin.
Yeah. I assumed I always assumed that he was there, and the reason that they hid Luke there was because there's no way that Anakin would want to return. Because of all the bad memories, which is retcon. Obviously, we know this is retconning stuff, but
Lucas didn't know this at the time. Stuff like that.
But that's why Vader, in retrospective, that's why Vader wouldn't go down to Tatooine when that dropped.
And he didn't know Luke existed.
He didn't know Luke existed
because he thought Padme just died. He thought he killed Padme.
Exactly. But anyways, the opening is great. You've got the fight, which is the first time we start seeing Anakin and Palpatine's. Like him toying with Palpatine toying with Anakin more of like goading him into doing something, and having him asking him to kill Dooku.
He just told him to. He didn't ask him.
Yeah,
he said do it,
kill him.
and then he followed, and then like Anakin's like I shouldn't, and then he's like do it, and then
and it's over. Yeah.
The only bummer part was just like to see Obi-Wan get whooped.
Yeah,
like that, because. He's Obi-Wan, like that's what more things that I looked into as far as like his fight with Anakin, like why was he so formidable against Anakin? And he was apparently like a master of his form, which is a defensive form, but also just the fact that him and Anakin knew each other so well. That's the other reason why
he knows all of his moves.
Yeah,
it's like
so that's why they like on it. It was really like a stalemate at the end, but like he did the high ground thing. And
well, it's like you play chess with the same person. That's the only person you've been playing chess with for 20 years.
So it was a little bummer that Dooku like just managed to just be like, get that lucky shot on him and knocked him out. But you did at the same time get to see like how like where Anakin's like my powers have doubled. Like it was very apparent.
Yes, and that's what they were trying to show here. There's a reason that Palpatine was choosing Anakin. Because he's powerful and because he's naive. It's like a perfect combination of like I'm going to use this guy's weaknesses to have my next person.
I liked, even though like he completely erases it later in the movie. Even though the script kind of sucks and Hayden Christensen, he's not a terrible actor. He's just working with what he had. Plus, he's not that great of an actor. But like the fact that you could clearly see that what we didn't know is that Anakin's been knighted, so he is a Jedi Knight. He's not a master, as we find out. But you see the maturity. You see, like I say patience. He's been to war.
Yeah, He's learned a little bit more patience.
He had a Padawan that we didn't know about.
Yeah. Well, this was it 4 years between 5 years between 2 and 3.
3.
3 years.
Okay. I think.
Okay.
It was 10 to episode 2.
Yeah.
And then I think 3 more.
That makes sense. And I mean, you're talking about 3 years of someone being in war.
Dude.
That's someone being in a war. I mean, we've been in ours for 17.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a long war, but this is a ridiculous war that just keeps going on in Clone Wars is what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think him being in that changed him. And I did see some people online, commenting about the movie because I did research differently than you, but and they were saying like he shows up after fighting all these wars. Fighting in the wars, and Padme's like, I have great news, I'm pregnant. And like, different people online are like, why didn't he ask like who the father is? I'm like, no, they've got hyperspace travel. Like, he went off and did a battle, he came back and snuggled, he went off and did a battle, he can't. Like, that could have been he could have been gone for a couple weeks. I mean, Han goes from Tatooine to in the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You go from Tatooine to what would be Alderaan in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
So no big deal.
And Stop trying to make sense of like any type of travel in Star Wars. Like this is fantasy.
Well, yeah.
Not sci-fi.
Well, then they talk about like fuel. We'll talk about like losing fuel. Yeah. We talk about The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Because it hadn't like it's like no, don't bring that in here
all
right
of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Don't want to talk about it. So throughout this, we've been going things you noticed, things you liked, things you hated. Did you notice anything new?
Not things that things that irritated me more than I thought they would irritate me. Than they small things.
Yeah.
Why Kashyyyk? Other than Wookiees, why? Like, I feel like it was fan service.
It didn't bother me. The only thing that bothered me was Chewie being there.
Yes.
Like, Chewie didn't need... Because Chewie knew that... You're telling me... So, like, obviously he did. He's that old. We knew Chewie was that old.
Yeah.
But, like, they've never talked about Chewie's, like, fighting in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
They never talked about Chewie knowing the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, knowing any Jedi.
I didn't assume... And that's what bothered me was I assumed... And I believe in the books, so obviously the books don't matter anymore to them. And Kathleen Kennedy said they don't exist. So I don't know if you saw that interview. She had an interview like with Rolling Stone, and she said the hard part with the new Star Wars movies is we don't have comic books and we don't have these 800-page novels to go back to. And everyone's like, yes, you do. You had all of those, and the count, like they had a group that basically said we're not going to use. Yeah. You know. So
Legends.
Yeah, and now we're going to make it Legends. So like she basically just said Legends didn't exist and they're not going to use it. Not that she was putting aside, like saying like they didn't have any source material. Like you had so much source material. She was trying to use that as an excuse.
Yeah, where do you think Thrawn came from?
Yeah,
like they used Thrawn.
Yeah,
like so they rewrote him.
Sure,
but they used him.
But and that was the idea behind
Rebels.
That was the idea behind what's moving forward with canon versus legacy is they may reuse. I didn't like Chewie being in there. I didn't like them going to Kashyyyk because you're talking about a group of primitive, people, quasi-primitive, not like Ewoks or anything. But the idea was these people, these Wookiees were only brought in because the Empire was using them as slaves, and that's how Chewie got rescued.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of them being like in a pivotal battle, and I don't understand why Yoda was there. And like, yeah, Chewie never says anything about like when they're like, oh, it's
or he just doesn't say anything about Jedi.
Sure.
Like he doesn't have to necessarily say Yoda because like nobody really referenced Yoda. Like there was one point where like Luke is on Hoth. And like right after the Wampa hit him, and he's like Yoda, and then nobody ever mentions it again. Yeah. So it's fine that Chewie doesn't mention Yoda, but like he doesn't ever be like, I hung out with a Jedi, Luke.
Yeah. I know some Jedi. Oh, you're trained to be a Jedi. I know about Jedi.
There was this one midget one. He was green.
Yeah,
he was cool.
Never talks about it. Never talks about it. I didn't like that. I didn't like and then Yoda hiding. They don't give like an answer as to why he goes there. I know there's an answer. I know there's a reason why.
It's in the novelization.
Exactly. It's in the novelization. And I know that. And, as a Star Wars nerd, I do know these things. But this is all about rewatching the movie and going, like, oh, that makes sense.
Again, more things that I had to Google yesterday because I had to Google, like, why did Obi-Wan not finish it?
Yeah.
So that bugged me.
Yeah.
Like, I get, even in the context of the movie, I get why, because you see before that where Mace is about to kill the Emperor.
Yeah.
And even though Anakin's like halfway crazy, he's also like he needs to stand trial. Like at first he's trying to do the right thing. Like Anakin does turn the Emperor in technically before he changes and before he like succumbs to the dark side. Like he was like, I think he's a Sith Lord. I think he's the one we've been looking for. Yeah. And like he even tells the Emperor, I would very much like to kill you.
Yep.
But like right when Mace Windu has defeated him, he's like, let's arrest him. And so there's that code there, and like that in the context of the movie, I can see why Obi-Wan wouldn't do it. But at the same time, it was explained further in the novelization that basically he knew, he felt the presence of the Emperor coming. So the Emperor was getting there swiftly. He needed to get Padme out of there, and also that it wasn't an honorable thing to kill a defeated man. And
at the same time, like, I would argue that it'd be putting him out of his misery.
Because he's on fire.
He's on fire. You've cut off his limbs. He's screaming in pain. It's like the honorable thing would be to just
Yeah.
Like, just go, like, cut off his head or stab him through the heart or whatever. Like, get rid of it. And it would have taken less time than screaming about you are my brother and I loved you and everything.
Yeah.
That was the other thing people didn't like. They were saying, like, Obi-Wan says that he loved and I was like, do I really need to like straight up quote like episode 2 where Anakin's like, no, we're encouraged to love attachments. Like, we can't. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he's allowed to love. He's not allowed to have an attachment, because love is compassion, but it's an attachment that could make you vulnerable or weak or be used straight up, like, you know, the Gwen Stacy Spider-Man.
And even whenever he's struggling with it, Yoda's like, well, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, Natalie Portman's acting in here can't even say the thing. The best acting in the entire movie, though, is from Palpatine.
Yeah, he did
like,
great.
This is his movie.
Yeah.
And since you did a bunch of research on this, I've seen.
I even looked into why the mask thing happened.
For his face.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask, was because I've heard people explain it. Mm-hmm. I had what I thought, but go ahead.
So apparently there's something called Sith alchemy. Apparently the Emperor is older than we know.
Yes.
That he basically was this entire time concealing himself in the way of a Nubian senator, because they say he's from Naboo, and I've never seen anything say anything different. Sure. So I assume he's from Naboo, just older than we think. And Naboo. So what happens is when the lightning gets turned on him, that mask is taken away, and we see what a combination of his age and what being such a strong user of the dark side has turned him into.
And that's what I thought. I saw people misunderstanding that as like, oh, the lightning did that. I'm like,
it didn't help.
The lightning didn't help because he was masking what he truly looked like. And then when he goes to the Senate, he's blaming the Jedi about what they did to disfigure him. Yeah. And that's because he was like, I need an out. Yeah. And here's my out: is the Jedi are horrible. They tried to kill me.
So this is where I get pissed off. Yeah. Like, so I mean, the other than Yoda leaving and becoming like, I understand why he left. Yeah. You know, and like, it makes sense. Yes. But in the context of the movie, it makes zero sense. Yes. But in this Senate thing, he assembles everybody, and he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna take over." You know. Yep. And everybody's like, this is where you get the stupid thing that people use for Trump, which ticks me off. I'm like, liberty hasn't died in the United States. Let's not be over dramatic. But in this case, like, I was just like, why is everybody like? I don't even understand why everybody's applauding. Like, he apparently, you know, he did a good job during the war, but like all of a sudden, you guys are just like, okay. Yeah. I mean, with the democracy going away.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that the better way to illustrate something like that, to create that type of camaraderie, is essentially to have a situation happen like 9/11 did, or Pearl Harbor, or anything, where you unite all of the people, all of the Senate, all of those people against a common enemy. Yeah. But the Jedi were part of that. So as opposed to like, I don't know, making some connection to the Jedi always like being part of something else, or like, I don't know, it seemed like it didn't have that that other evil that comes in that we can all get behind. It was Ronald Reagan that was talking about that, like saying, what was it? It was during the Cold War. He was saying like, if we had like basically an alien attack. Yeah. Like, then we probably would all unite as a people. I've been
saying that forever.
Yeah, which is the whole Watchmen idea. To spoil Watchmen for you if you haven't.
The comic.
The comic,
not the TV show.
The comic. That whole, the TV show takes place after.
Yeah. So we're not spoiling the TV show.
No, we're not. But the comic ending, the ending of the comic of the, holy crap, there's an intergalactic, interdimensional squid thing that's attacking, and it being all fake to get people to unite, for the greater good, even though it killed a bunch of people. Yeah. Yeah. Which is what would have made more sense for Palpatine. I love all of Palpatine's scenes. I love his fights. The Mace Windu fight, obviously, one of the best.
The only person to beat Palpatine, man.
Yep. And after watching this, you mentioned things that I didn't notice before, or it didn't occur to me. Mm-hmm. How many Jedi does Anakin kill?
A lot.
In the movie.
In the movie?
Yeah. He kills younglings.
Yeah.
and then he kills the Trade Federation guys that nobody liked.
Yeah. Apparently he killed Shakti.
Yeah, so again, not in the movie, but when you watch the movie, you're just like, oh, he killed all those kids. Oh, then he killed the other things. Like, I'm like, I know that he did hunt down Jedi.
Yeah.
That was the point. But again, like, it didn't show that.
Yeah, because apparently he killed Shakti while she was meditating.
Yeah.
There was a person that Yoda mentions where it's like this guy wasn't killed by a blaster, that he was killed by a lightsaber.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's clear that like
yeah,
Anakin was in the murderous rampage.
Yeah. And of course the kids, the younglings, was like which I hate that they called them like
apparently it's a rank.
Okay.
Youngling is a rank.
That makes me feel better then, because I'm like, oh, Yoda's calling them younglings. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cute, whatever. And then like other people call them younglings. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
then. Like
so they
foundlings.
so they have youngling, Padawan, knight, master, okay. And then there's even more stuff outside of that for people who like kind of don't pursue the trainings and stuff like that, but still are like force sensitive users. But like I'm pretty sure like that, like in episode 2, there's that like librarian lady. Like she's not a Jedi. Yeah. From what I know, she's just a part of the Order. Yeah. That does stuff. Sure. Like, because they have healers and other things too that apparently are a part of it. But
yeah, taking a path if you're like, I'm not devoted enough to be a doctor.
But yeah, apparently
I'll be a nurse practitioner.
But yeah, youngling is a rank that's just what they're called there, because like they mentioned they just mentioned children in other movies, so it's not like something they call kids.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, that's weird.
Yeah,
it's rank, makes sense.
I have a huge this movie is where I have a huge problem with what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi, where like there's a redemption arc to it, because like he, we see what he did to the animals, quote unquote, the sand people in episode 2, and you can kind of maybe let that go because they're not human beings, even though that's kind of racist in this case, like truly racist. Yeah, it is. But in this case, he killed a bunch of humanoids.
He kills humans. He straight up kills kids.
Yeah.
Children.
So that's where, to me, there is no redemption arc once you do that. Like, at that point, like, you're done.
Yeah. I think that... I agree. I think they were trying to...
ruin the end of Return of the Jedi.
I think they were trying to find a way that all these people who were close to him since he was, like, 8 or 9...
Yeah.
Like, why would all of them turn on him if he was just like, yeah, I'm with the Chancellor now? They'd be like, okay, come on, knock it off.
Yeah.
Like, he had to cross a barrier.
Yeah.
And the Sand People barrier could have been enough when he kills the Tusken Raider, women and children. That was bad enough. Killing the unarmed kids for no reason, like, or just because they wanted to make sure anyone who was trained as a Jedi at all. Like, you'd think that if he let them go, that he would have been like, if there aren't Jedi, like, they're not going to be a problem for me.
Yeah.
Maybe lied to Palpatine. That would have given some redemption about it, but...
No. And but that was the thing. That was the biggest thing that I didn't realize until watching last night. Like, what now? Because as a kid... I still love Return of the Jedi, but as a kid, I loved, like, the end of Return of the Jedi. Like, everybody, like... he turns good and everything, but now as an adult, every time I watch it, I'm like, no, you're not good. You saved your son, but you're still an evil POS. Like, to me, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of really, really dirtbag fathers who also love their kids and do really bad things.
You watch like Sons of Anarchy and stuff like that kind of thing, like or even like Breaking Bad, like. He turns into a pretty bad dude. Like, person. He loves that kid, his son.
Walt Jr.,
yeah. He loves the kid, but like he's still, by the end of it, he's a pretty terrible guy.
He is, and I mean, I agree, and that's one thing that we could again talk about Star Wars for hours, but I feel like the prequels, for the most part, didn't need to. Actually, like, we didn't need to see these things. It wasn't as bad as the Han Solo movie, because Solo, there's nothing in that movie that I saw that I didn't know or needed to know or care about. That being said, I love Lando in that. I love a lot of pieces of that only for the fan service aspect of it. But as a story, what did we see in the prequels that enhanced our viewing of the original trilogy? Because you just said it, ruined the redemption arc.
for me,
other than lightsaber battles, really
well, not
cool.
just lightsaber battles are cool, but like in general, the stuff that like most people probably hate, but the politics of the galaxy, you got to see more of the Jedi as they functioned, as a not only as a religion but just as an order, where like they're mentioned a few times. What like they talk about their mandate and stuff. Like they're basically just like hired dudes. Like they're not bounty hunters per se. Yeah, they're hired. You know, you call them peacekeepers or whatever. But like they're hired hands. Like by the Republic, they're like the Republic's like, hey, can you do this for us? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll send Jedi because like they're just the wise mediator. And apparently like that's a thing. Like finding out how the world functioned to get us to the Empire and the Rebellion. I think is what you really get out of the prequels. And I think I mentioned on a previous podcast, we're going to talk about this in a big list that I'll have for you at one point about retcons. But the idea of the Trade Federation and laws and all of that was something George Lucas said back in, I want to say 77 or 78. He was like, yeah, that's how Emperor Palpatine like got into power. And like, because people were like, "Oh, this is dumb. It's about trade federations and stuff." And like, he'd previously said, like, that's how he got in there was politics, proper politics, trade, blah blah blah. Get through this, and then boom. And then just as to ending on like a positive note, in terms of the battles, like I haven't seen, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of the three. Like I hadn't watched it all the way through in a while. Like that final battle, like with Anakin and Obi-Wan is just as good as I remember it. And I had to put it up where like I've been holding Duel of the Fates so high in my mind for so long, and like this was such a good fight.
I think this is better if not a little too long of a fight, in my opinion. But maybe that's because we're getting that fight and we have the Yoda fight going on. Maybe it felt longer because of that. I think that this other than the fact that Darth Maul is just amazing. I love this fight. I love the trajectory that they take with it. You said something, you found something out about like why it took the path that it did.
Well, the way that it ends up a stalemate that I already mentioned, like how they know each other so well, but like apparently like they use different forms. So if you didn't know, there's like 7 forms. And for example, like Mace Windu is known as the form that nobody uses. It's called the Vapid, and that's where he like gets as close to the dark side as you can. And so like that's why he's so fierce. Whenever he's fighting, and you see Yoda is form 4, where like he uses the Force, and so that's where like even though he's old, and you have to be very in tune to use it. Well, like Obi-Wan is form 3, which is all defense. And so like Anakin's Anakin's is kind of just like more of a, like there's a loose style to it, but because he's using the Force now to a lot. But like the reason why he was holding his own so well is that basically Anakin's form and Obi-Wan's form are just counters to each other. So not only did they know each other so well, but they also are just like poised to fight this battle. Like that is the exact like
they're an answer to each other. And not just an answer to one,
but not a winning answer exactly. They like with Kenobi and Anakin being as skilled as they are, like it's so hard. So what actually is happening at the end that most people like it? The only reason why it was over is like the high ground thing. That's a meme now at this point. But like to a point, it makes sense in terms of Force jumping. But like the fight was a stalemate. The fight was over. Like they're on this volcanic planet fighting each other. Nobody's gaining the upper hand. Like there's moments where like he kicks him back. Like you see that thing where they both like know like
we're trying to push at the same time.
And so there's a lot of people saying like, why could Kenobi not beat like Dooku? But like Kenobi didn't technically beat Vader. Like until that jump.
Which of course people bring up like he's like, oh, I've got the high ground, which works unless you're Obi-Wan in episode 1 when he lifts himself up and cuts.
And apparently for that, Obi-Wan actually channeled the dark side to kill Darth Maul. When that happened, like he pulled something similar to like what a Windu would do.
I assumed it was
It was anger.
I assumed it was that mixed with the fact that that Maul is just toying with him.
He's cocky.
He's just like, I got this. I'm just gonna Just gonna joke and then kick you in the face or something. Yeah.
I don't want to end this way, but just Yoda leaving. Like again, I know why he left, but from a movie perspective, it was so dumb. I was just
dumb and sad.
You hopped up all that stuff. Yeah. Like I understand. Is it because they made you lose your lightsaber, so now you're without a weapon, and you don't know where your weapon is because he didn't have it with him?
I always feel like Yoda shouldn't even need one. Like that was one of my big complaints when everybody else was like talking about how amazing the fight in Attack of the Clones is when it's loaded Yoda with a lightsaber. I'm like, why? Like I could imagine like he should be so good with the Force that he can just evade like Neo, evade lightsabers and like throw stuff at people with the Force or move them with the Force.
Because I think it has to do with will for him of being willing to use the Force in such a way that
could be, and he does use the lightsaber for. I mean, for I actually wouldn't say it's that defensive, but like I don't know.
There's only one time where you see him like go like truly offensive, and that's when they're getting back into the Jedi Temple.
Yeah,
like you see him like he like throws the lightsaber at the guy and like jumps on his chest and yanks it out. I'm like, yeah,
exactly, yeah.
And then you're like, this is gonna go.
I didn't mind that. It was it's the duels that I'm just like I would love, and I do like the Sidious duel. It has more of a balance, both of them not being just lightsaber users. You have like Sidious throwing this chair, not the chairs, the straight up what are you gonna call them? Platforms, like just throwing them. Floating platforms, Senate seats. Yeah, those just amazing. I mean, this movie is the best of the prequels. So if you haven't watched it in a while, watch it. Get through some of the soap opera acting to get through this.
It holds up.
It does hold up.
The script, they still didn't improve on it too much from episode 2, but it doesn't matter enough because like literally like this movie is non-stop.
Yeah. So
it just goes like that. It again, I haven't seen it in several years, and I was just surprised. I was like, wait, where's the break? Like, do I get a break in here?
You get like 2 brief breaks that like would be. I don't know if you saw that. There's an app called Run P. That's like if you're going to a movie, you can look at it beforehand, and it will tell you without spoiling. Like when you see the orange box, that's when you go. Like it won't spoil the movie for you.
I did that during. I didn't use an app. I used a website, but because my wife was pregnant.
Oh, sure.
During Endgame.
Yeah.
And so like
3.5.
Yeah. So like during Endgame, I was like, okay, and I would just tell her, I'm like,
you're good.
Like there was like one where it was like when they get to San Francisco, I'm like, go. And then like there was another time where I'm like, you can go now.
You can go now. That's great. That's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, you need that sometimes.
We got 16 days.
16
until
days.
episode 9 comes out,
Man,
which is just enough time for episode 7 and episode 8.
We'll circle back to Solo and circle back to
talk about Rogue One at some point. I don't care about Solo, but Rogue One is so good.
I want to talk about Solo because I want to vent about some things.
Okay.
But yes, Rogue One is my favorite of the recent Star Wars movies.
Okay.
Since Revenge of the Sith.
Episode 7 is my favorite of the recent Star Wars movies, but we'll get to that next week.
We'll see it and watch it next week, and we'll let you know. So let us know in the comments what you thought about Revenge of the Sith, and do you think it's the best of the Star Wars prequels? Or do you like Episode 2?
You absolutely do.
See you guys later. Bye. Thanks, everybody.